All right, welcome to the Beyond Coaching podcast. I got Coach Leroy Fisher here with me. Leroy, how we doing?
Good, man. Doing good today. You?
Awesome. Hey, I'm doing good. I've got my coffee. We're ready to roll. I'm
Yep.
caffeinated.
That's my next thing for this afternoon. It'll pick me up.
Of course, of course. So you're over there in Florida, right?
Yep. I'm in might as well call it Daytona. I'm in a little city just north of Daytona, but same county in Ormond. So
Definitely. And
yeah.
so you balance firefighting with owning a gym. Tell me a little bit about that, man.
Yeah. As my athletes know, and everybody that knows me, I have multiple hats. So yeah, I work full time as a firefighter up in Palm Coast. So the county of the city just north of Volusia County where Daytona and my Ormond Beach sits in Flagler counties. Work there, 24 on, 48 off. And then my days off are juggling athletes, clients, family life. You know, I got two kids, a wife, and then also I'm my head girls weightlifting coach. So that season's kicking off in another month and a half. So,
Man, how
but
how do
it's
you
a balance.
balance it all? How do you keep your head on your shoulders?
A lot of grace from other people,
Hmm.
mutual understanding with the wife, but I have an awesome team at my gym to help me out on my when I'm on shift, and I have a great assistant coach at the high school, so she helps fill in, and I got some people that have been helping me for years for meets and just filling in when I can because sometimes I can't control, being on shift. If I have to stay over for whatever reason or heaven forbid we're getting a hurricane, we're prepping for that. So sometimes we're holding over till that's coming. So a lot of help, definitely a village for sure. And then just balancing my own time, knowing when to, hey, I can't come in today, or just giving myself family time. So
Right.
it's fun, but it can be hard at times too. But definitely find that balance, just like anything, just like training. You got to find a
Yeah.
balance. So
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like, I think it's all about structure. Like,
hmm
I balance. Obviously, I'm running my gym, SoCal Powerlifting, and then Coach Logic stuff, and then I do like
hmm
business coaching, mentorship stuff, and like husband. I'm not a father yet. Want to be, but I'm sure that's going to add some complexities to the scenario. So, tell me
yeah.
about the background with Fisher lifting. I think you had something before. You hit the restart button. You've been through it. What? Tell me about that.
Yeah, I'm kind of a product of the CrossFit world in some ways. Well, in a lot of ways, I started a long time ago with one of the original CrossFit gyms in Daytona and the original owner, and started training for my career, so I could stay fit. And then fast forward, started enjoying. I enjoyed every aspect of it, what it did for me, and then as new members came in, helping out and um, got into coaching a little bit, and fast forward even more, I co-owned that gym a few years later. Um, from it sold to one person, and then so I co-owned it with another person for a couple years, and then dug in. Sorry, my dog loves to get a hold of me when
Oh, you're good.
I'm
You're
on
good.
a Zoom. So started coaching, really started falling in love with more of the Olympic lifting. So I really dug into that. And that's where I kind of started the team at the high school I'm at. This is my 11th season with the team there. And, just exploring more. We started a fitness program at work with the old chief, became a personal trainer through taking those classes, then sold the gym, stepped away for a while, just kind of did my thing at the high school. And around 2020, I was just like, I miss having the gym. I miss the coaching aspect on that end. Helping out the high school athletes is great. So really sat down with the wife, laid out a game plan. I was like, look, I want to do something. So started kind of doing the remote thing because it was 2020 when I officially launched Fisher Lifting. So height of COVID, was doing a lot of remote stuff and training out of some other local gyms for about a year or two. And then I was like, I need my own place. I can't do the Olympic lifts. I can't do some of the stuff I want to do without traveling. So got the brick and mortar, and I've just been slowly growing since. I've had the brick and mortar location for a little over 3 years now up here in Ormond. And I've been training between personal training and then high school athletes. I got a few athletes from local high schools that have dropped in or currently still training with me. And then just growing it from there. Got a team at the business now, which is awesome because again, balance.
Yeah.
So, and just kind of ingraining everything that fitness has done for me. Because honestly, I in high school wasn't very athletic, didn't do a whole lot until like my junior senior year because of a friend of mine was like, "Hey, just get in the weight room with me. Let's just start working." And
Hmm.
so my little adage is, if I went back in time and told my high school self that you would own a gym and be a personal trainer, my high school self would have laughed.
Yeah.
So, but it allowed me to be the coach that I am and help develop the way that I do because I had a clean slate and I was just pulling from everybody I could and I still do,
Hmm.
So it was funny because watching with Dan Marcy,
Hmm.
how he's like, even to this day, he's still asking other coaches, but
Yeah.
you have to keep
Yeah.
growing. So
Who are some of your biggest influences as coaches?
I would say my mentor, I was thankful to kind of link up with Brian down in Vero.
Hmm.
When I really started digging into Olympic lifting, I was referred to him. And over the years, I've pulled from him. I would say Joey Lippo, he's up in St. Augustine High School now. I used to compete with him in the high school level a lot with teams, but source of information and then just some of the local coaches. But I would say Brian's been the biggest. And then because he's always been a help, he's helped me develop my programming the way I do because he's got a unique way. You can't really explain it, but it works,
Yeah. Yeah.
But those two for sure, because they helped me grow as a coach. Yeah, I would say definitely them.
Yeah. I think like finding mentors is super important because none of us have any novel ideas. Like it's always been done before. So
Right.
we might as well lean on other people to continue to learn. And I know the best coaches who still take new stuff from other people.
Hmm.
And I think that's the key when we sort of get caught up in our own, ways of doing things and we stop
Hmm.
learning and we stop growing. That's when we get stuck and we go backwards. And so I think it's super
Right.
important to keep pushing forward. Yeah.
For sure.
Florida obviously has a huge high school, weightlifting scene.
Hmm.
What makes it different over there? Like why is it that way?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you exactly why. I think just with Florida in general, it's such a big sports state, I feel like.
Hmm.
I mean, because one, you can pretty much do it year round without having to find a indoor facility, So, and I think with weightlifting becoming more of an extra thing and kids and parents are seeing like the value in it, that's where it's really exploded. And I was honestly shocked because I'm a head girls coach. And even 10 years ago, I was shocked to start the team for the high school that I'm at Father Lopez. And it's crazy how big that is and how much bigger I feel like it has been than the boys.
Yeah.
Because you would think football, right? Huge football teams, you would think all football players would be on the weightlifting team in heading into the spring before they start getting into spring ball. But I don't know. I just want to say, I guess it has to be just the more and more value people are seeing it and
Yeah.
how fitness, I feel like in the youth world has exploded more over the years that
Mhm.
I've noticed, it's
Yeah. I
becoming
mean,
more okay,
I yeah, I feel like Max and I've talked about this before. Like, obviously, you have like you have your football, like boys do football or sports like that, and then you have
Hmm.
the head football coach who's going to be there, just going to want their kids to do football. Even though we know as like coaches that like the more diverse we are from like a sports standpoint, that produces like better athletes. But then the
Right.
other thing on the girls side, it's like, well, if we look at the sports that make girls probably really good at weightlifting, it's going to be your gymnastics, it's going to be cheerleading, it's going to be
Hmm.
explosive type stuff, jumping, things like that. And so I feel like there's not a lot of sports for, boys, young men that are producing those type of qualities.
Right.
And then therefore girls accelerate faster because they're used to being quick, explosive movements, jumping,
Hmm.
all that stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, obviously we look at USA weightlifting as well. And, from that standpoint, we know that our women are legit, and I'm
Yeah.
not saying
Oh,
our men
for sure.
aren't, but yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's,
You'd be silly to say that they're not crazy strong and like you said, legit.
yeah.
And I love that, the more I fell into the Olympic lifting side, I love that I think it's been 5 years ago, I believe now, that they introduced snatch as an optional lift in high school level. A lot of coaches were against it, but the benefits of it and our, USA weightlifting between Danny Camargo and whoever else he pulled to help get this established through FHSAA, I think it's been huge. And we're seeing more, colleges creating teams. And I mean, I have a girl that I help train her last couple years on and off. She's currently at college under a scholarship for weightlifting,
Yeah.
and it's crazy to see that, but I feel like it's growing more, and that collaboration is even better. And there's the
Yeah.
sources to even go learn the lifts are just, it's so easy to go get your basics if you don't know. I mean, I'll admit, like, that's what I love. And I'm still dialing in, like, building good benchers and, pulling. That's where I pulled from other coaches. That's not my forte, but going back to learning, but yeah, something I definitely think it goes back, like I said, it's just becoming more accepted for youth to lift. And,
Definitely.
so.
Yeah, gone are the days of lifting stunting growth,
Right.
and
Right.
parents being afraid of it. Yeah, definitely. I think social media has played a huge part in that. Like we look
Yeah.
at like Gen Zers on social media. There's so many people doing like fitness stuff now. People in high school
Hmm.
just going to the gym. I remember when I was in high school, which wasn't that long ago. I graduated in 2015. I'm only 28, but I was like one of the two guys that went to the gym. Like I was like I
Right.
had a gym membership. I went to LA Fitness and I would work out before school and then I'd lift after school and with the football kids and stuff like
Hmm.
that with my team. But yeah, like I didn't see any of my classmates at school at the gym. And nowadays it's like I feel like there's a ton of high school, kids that
Oh, yeah.
go to the gym. It's a normal thing. And it's
Right.
great. It's a great positive thing for sure. And I think it's just yeah, I mean, it's funny. My mom, when I used to like be sick, she'd be
Hmm.
like, "Okay, but if you're gonna stay home from school, you can't go to the gym." I'm like, "Fuck that! I'm
Yeah, I'm
going.
going
I'm
to
going to
school.
school." Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 So,
For
but
sure.
that's awesome. Is there, when it comes to coaching, high school weightlifting, are there like any mistakes you see coaches make, like things that you see that you're like, nah, I would maybe do that differently? Like, what's a common mistake you think coaches make in high school weightlifting?
I don't know if it's mistakes. Like, I hate to say it that way, but throughout the years of me just constantly learning and being in that high school realm, I see a lot of coaches, I think, pushing their athletes too far weight wise when their foundation isn't there. And
Mm,
it's a fine line, right? Because you have to build the confidence, especially I feel like over the last few years, like the mental side of confidence building has been a lot harder. So, and I train mine, they may hate it. Like I train them more for the longevity. Like I love producing athletes. I love seeing, these girls mainly, but some of the boys I train, I love to see them make state medals and qualify for states in high school and compete well at USAW meets. But it's seeing that technique break down as they get into those heavier lifts, or, that's what scares me personally, because yeah, they have these titles in high school and it's great, but I fear for them when they're 24, 25, because that's when those old bad habits are going to really start shedding their light. And then,
mm,
we're talking about some pretty bad injuries that could occur even in the high school level. I mean, I've had
yeah,
kids, freak things happen, right? You can't control the other sports they do, things like that. But weightlifting's to help them be more powerful, more explosive if they're doing other sports, and to keep them healthy, their joints healthy and their tendons. So I don't think it's, sometimes I think I want to believe it's just the lack of knowledge,
mm,
but I feel like that's growing on the coaches side because there's more resources easily available and schools are buying into weightlifting more. So being able to send a coach to, a level course, or, like Danny just put on a thing geared straight to high school coaches,
hmm
just learning the Olympic lifts and things like that. But I do see ego coaching,
yeah,
and it's hard. We all want to win. We all want to
yeah,
produce athletes. We want to put them in, but at what
cost,
cost? Right. Because at the end of the day, these are young adults, kids, they want to win too, but you're the one helping control that in a lot
yeah,
of ways.
yeah,
So, I say it all the time. Like a lot of my lifters, they ask me about belts and wrist wraps and all this fun stuff. And again, they may hate me, but I'm like, until I can see you know how to properly brace, you're not getting a belt. I'm not going to have you be out there using the belt as your only core bracing material, like
Yeah.
I see some athletes do,
Yeah.
so we work on that, and then when
Mhm.
when I see you are even under fatigue and under these heavier loads, you're able to really lock down. All right, let's get that belt. It's going to help you. I mean, it's everybody's got them. I get it, but we're
Yeah.
not just doing it just to do it.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny, like yeah, dealing with youth athletes is hard. Like, I started competing in powerlifting when I was in high school, and I would always go off program, max out, like, once a week, low key,
Hmm.
not tell my coach, things like that. Then you realize, I had injuries pile up, and I actually had to have some surgeries and stuff. But, it's hard to explain to a kid, like, why, like, we wanna play long-term games to win, like, bigger prizes.
Right.
And when all they know is, well, I have my weightlifting season and I have this 4 year, this almost like this quad
Hmm.
opportunity to
Yeah.
maybe hit these echelons of sport. And then, I would say most of them probably, I don't know if they continue or don't after high school, right? But like they maybe don't see the next step, but you're thinking long term. And it's hard to
Yeah.
have someone who's only been on this earth 14 years, 15 years
Right.
think long term,
Right.
easier when we've had more time on the earth. And that's
Yeah.
what I always look back on. It's like, yeah, like a year back then seems like forever, but now as we get older, it's like we pile up the years. It's actually not a long period of time. Easy to
Yeah.
think long term.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to a one of our powerlifting clients who's young. He's like he's in his 20s, like I think he's
Hmm.
20 or 21, and super strong, just won best lifter. But like a week out, he was like texting me because he works with one of my coaches, and
Hmm.
he's like, yeah, I think I'm gonna move on. I just don't feel like I'm seeing the progress I want to see. And the dude added like 100 kilos to his total in a year. And he's like strong already.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, my friend, like brother, it doesn't get better than this. Like,
Yeah.
embrace this because it's only going to get harder from here.
Right. Right.
Like, I look back and it's like, it took me a year or 2 years of training to go from like a 200-pound bench press to a 300-pound bench press, and it took me like 3 or 4 years to go from 300 to 400. And then,
Right.
like, people don't realize, like, as you get stronger, it just gets more difficult and how we need to stay the course. Or, yeah, it's not gonna be the new set of shoes or the belt or the wrist
Mhm.
straps. It's gonna, like, eke out another 20 kilos. It's gonna be
Right.
the training and
Mhm.
consistency. And if we're changing variables like equipment all the time, we're not, ingraining the same movement patterns.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
all that
Yeah.
stuff is, I think, super important.
Yeah, it's very hard. I mean, I still train, when I can, balance and everything. And it's humbling sometimes because if I get 3 days in a week, that's an awesome week,
Yeah.
because I have to balance that. What is my body truly telling me right now? Because I pushed it hard before. And then next thing you know, I'm sick. I got a nagging ache forever, or I get, an injury. So yeah, it's definitely hard to get that ingrained to the kids, and there's ways around it. Like the way I've learned to program, they're eager, especially a new lifter, they're eager to find that heavy weight. So you can do heavy. They think it's a heavy, but it's maybe on a complex or block work or, something that's still really good for them, but it's not going to ingrain a bad habit. It's just going to
Mhm,
reinforce like, where a lot of Olympic lifters lose it, I feel like, is from like the knee to power position.
mhm,
They can't hold their back positions. I love putting in like heavy power position work or stuff like that about 4 or 5 weeks in sometimes, depending on how everybody's looking or they're looking. Just have fun with it, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I told you
No,
my dog's being a pain. But but it's still hard. They want to, they're like, oh, that was so great. That's, 80% of my max. Like, can I just try it from the floor? No,
no,
no. If they're moving well, then obviously, like I learned from Brian, just if they're hot, let them go,
yeah,
and then tone them back just like any training, So, but yeah, it's a balance for sure. And it's balancing. The common issue is a lot of these kids are multi-sport athletes. So, not overtaxing them all the way around. They're student athletes, these high schoolers. So, making sure they're getting caught up on things and like, hey, I can tell you're just mentally spent and it's seeing it and just you warming up. Like, hey, let's tone it way back or you know what? Here's the main thing you need to work on today. Get that done. Go chill.
Yep.
And they'll look at you sideways, some of them, but then when they come back the next week and they're feeling phenomenal, you're like, all right, can you trust me a little bit now?
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? But I get it. It's hard. It's hard. So,
And, I know one of the demographics you have is some older clients as well, right?
mhm. Yep.
How have you dove in there, and what does that look like today?
Yeah, a lot of my personal training clients are older, 50 to 60 plus, some of them. And it's really digging back into just like we were talking about. It's like that right balance. Like what are they looking for? What do they truly need after you do your assessment on them? And like how are they truly reacting to what they're doing? I have one client, she's 63, but she can hang with probably most of 20-year-olds and like a more conditioned workout.
Yeah.
She was a big CrossFitter for a while, had a little sciatic issue, so she stepped away. And then I've been training her pretty much since I've had my brick and mortar. And I mean, she's the rare few that tells me, like, if you give me wall balls or burpees, I'm gonna be ecstatic. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
but then you got the other end. You get the common, person that just kind of let themselves go, and it's a real slow process and balancing. A lot of them are 2 days a week, and then, trying to get light stuff in, like, the best thing you can do, go for a walk, or, some of them like to walk the beach. I'm like, go for it, but when you come in, like, how are you feeling? Don't just give me yeah, I'm okay. When I can
Yeah.
see like something sore as we're warming up, or something's
Mhm.
kind of nagging on you. So, in a lot of ways, it's like the teenagers. Like, they're going to
Yeah.
tell you they're fine, but there's
Interesting.
something sore. There's something that, an old thing is bothering them. And you're like, okay, well, we need to adjust. But
Mhm.
I mean, I feel like that's really just for anybody. I mean, everybody's going to have days.
Yeah. How have you been able to attract clients like that? Some of the older clients?
The one I was just talking about, Kim, she actually, when my mom lived up in this area, helping out my grandma at the time, she was actually my mom's hairstylist.
Oh,
So,
that's awesome.
and then, so she's been a big referral for some of my clients, but a lot of it, Ormond Beach is growing as a younger family city, so
Mhm.
to speak, but it's got a lot of retirees in it too. So, I think just retirees looking for personal trainers and stuff like that, just using, Google or whatever, they're finding me. And then obviously if I'm posting, older clients, they're like, oh, perfect. So it just kind of naturally happened.
Yeah.
But I have like both ends of the spectrum. I got the youth lifters and younger lifters to, mainly, like I said, the 50, 60 plus. I have a few 30-year-olds, but yeah, it's crazy how things just organically happen sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting, like that older demographic I find, obviously, like, more of these people have more disposable income. They're consistent. Some are, if we get into the retiree
Mhm.
situation, like they have the time.
Yeah,
One of our best clients is 82 years old. His name is Ed. And he
that's awesome.
trains 4 to 5 days a week. And I see him almost every day. And he's been training with us. It's now been 3 years. Talks to everyone. Like, this is his reason to leave the house, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, and
Something to
I love
do.
it. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And we have great conversations. And so, like, I've always, something I've played around with, yeah, getting into those older populations. I think a lot of coaches, that's an utilized group, or underrepresented group. Like, not
Mhm.
enough gyms and coaches are maybe trying to market towards that 50 plus, 50s to 60s to
Yeah,
70s. And I know from a business perspective, that's actually like, they're like a really great target
yeah,
versus, I have a lot of gym owners I talk to, or coaches I talk to, and they're like, yeah, I just want to coach, like, the college age kids, and I'm like, they don't have any money. Like,
right.
it just doesn't work. I mean, like, yeah, I get it. Like, maybe you can sponsor some of them if you have a business that can do that. But
Mm,
you're either your teenager is hard because the parents are probably gonna have to pay for it, and they're, then that adds complexities. And then two,
mhm.
college age kids, like half of them are on I call it the parent payroll, half of them are not and are
Right,
broke.
right.
And then they're gonna move after college. So if you're like if you're a brick and mortar and you're pulling from college kids in a college in the area, you're gonna lose your clientele after 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
so, yeah, I
that's
think that older population is huge. They don't go anywhere. They have disposable income. They're motivated. They know they
mhm.
need to do this for their health and longevity. It's a good target market.
Yeah, and a lot of them have their groups,
Yeah.
they have their routine, like pickleball, there's a huge
Yeah.
it's huge around. I mean, it's becoming big everywhere, but, like, there's a whole facility, not far from Ormond, strictly for pickleball, and a lot of these communities have pickleball courts now, and one of my clients, she has a crazy backstory, and I commend her for still weight training and being as active as she is, but, she loves to play tennis, pickleball, like, she's super active, but she's older, but still doing business. She's like a big boss lady for a company and, but they have their little groups
Mhm.
because and that's cool too. So they start talking and, things like that. So that's where, like you said, they're still, they're not going anywhere. So, and then
Yeah.
and that's kind of like that organic marketing, I guess, in a lot of
Definitely.
ways.
Yeah.
So
What's something that you feel like you and, your gym does extraordinarily well that maybe other gyms or coaches are not doing?
I would say for my gym and like my team, we're huge. And it's not saying any other coach isn't, but we're definitely big on towing that like technique line. Like
Mhm.
sometimes I definitely think I'm a little too technically savvy
Mhm.
when it comes to pushing athletes. Getting that, really trying to ingrain that. Like when you start seeing faults, or weak points, whether it's squatting, whatever the movement is, right? Really honing in on that is, I think, where we're big. And I would say for sure on the high school side, I mean, we've been approached multiple times by other coaches and parents, like our kids may not have won the meet, but they're like, you guys look so technically sound. And I'm like,
Mm.
I take a lot of pride in that.
Yeah.
And when my girls and some of the boys I've trained like see that and hear that, they're like, yeah, you're right, but I would definitely say that. And
Mhm.
even with my personal training clients, like I've been
Yeah.
coaching a while, I start seeing those little micro shifts, so to speak. The coach's eye, as I learned taking some classes with Camargo, like that shoulder just rounds a little bit, or that knee, or you see that slight hip shift. And I'm just like, okay, hold on,
Mhm.
And again, those things are going to happen, especially at sub max loads, maximal loads, no matter who you are, or fatigue levels, but minimizing that or completely not seeing it is huge.
Mhm.
But again, back to balance, you got to give you a little bit of grace, and seeing that where it's like, okay, is that manageable or is that going to be an issue? And
Yeah.
really honing in on and differentiating that, I guess.
Yeah, I think what's tough is like, dealing with any sort of athlete, you might see someone lift and let's say you're taking like we do accelerator sessions here to start like an onboarding process with new
Hmm.
clients. And like you might see 6 things that we need to improve in technique, but if you try and teach all 6 right then and there, they're not going to remember one thing.
Right.
So it's picking like
100%.
the most important issue, which maybe that's some bracing,
Hmm.
proper like thoracic extension, like whatever it is,
Hmm.
and then work our way back to like the little things that probably won't cause injury, but maybe will allow them to move weights better,
Right.
faster, whatever it is. And so I think it takes like a seasoned coach to know what we attack first as far as coaching them up and fixing technical issues. Whereas I've seen younger coaches sort of try to attack everything all at once
Yeah.
and then nothing lands
Sticking.
with
Yeah.
the client. Exactly.
And I'll admit, like when I was a young coach, I was the exact same way.
Yeah.
Like I learned all this stuff and I'm like, oh my God, I see it all now.
Yeah.
Knowing the client or knowing the athlete and being like, all right, what is more important right now?
Yeah.
What truly is the biggest red flag that's sticking out with their assessment or their movement?
Hmm.
Because I've had where, an athlete might be their ankle and hip mobility is great, but as soon as you put a load on them, their back and their core is just can't handle that bracing.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Or vice versa, Working with girls a lot, you see, especially if they're multi-sport athletes, phenomenal leg strength, a little bit of core strength, but shoulders, chest, arms, you got to develop them, you
Hmm.
know? So, but it's a fine line because now they have the base that for Olympic lifts, it's your hips and your legs, your cores, you need it. But I can still have a girl that maybe can't shoulder press 80 pounds for 5 or 6 reps, but I guarantee you she can hold it overhead in a jerk if
Yeah.
she executes it correctly because she can lock down and brace everything. So that fine line of like, cool, she can get that overhead, but is her joints and her muscles strong enough on the other aspect? So
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
yeah.
and I also find that, like, as we get older as coaches too, it's like we become less dogmatic in our approach, like, there's more
Hmm.
shades of gray. I think that, like,
Right.
things like, when we first start out, like, things were always very black and white. You do this, you don't do that. This is the way,
Right.
this is not the way, and, like, now it's like, everything is like, "Oh, yeah, maybe that works. Okay." But, like, I always take everything with a grain of salt, like, "Oh, yeah, okay, I could see how that could work in, like, a certain situation, yeah," you know?
Hmm.
And yeah, social media is tough because what sucks about social media is, unfortunately, being dogmatic and black and white and sort of like negative is rewarded positively by the
Yeah.
algorithm. And so we
Yeah.
see this,
Sucks.
the top 3 exercises for this, the top 3 things you shouldn't do, because that's
Right.
what does the best. And so I think it's important for coaches to find a way to maybe hit the algorithm right when it comes to their marketing, but at the same time, educating in the right way, which I believe the right way is, there's a lot of different right ways to do things.
Yeah, because 'cause we're all different. I mean, every athlete is built different, their background's different, their mentality towards things is different. You have to, and that goes back to learning. You can't as a coach, a trainer, whatever you wanna be, I mean, coaches were teachers, just like a teacher should always
Yeah.
be learning.
Yeah.
You have to keep learning because everything changes every year.
Definitely.
And yeah, the background, you don't know the backgrounds of people,
Yeah.
and their experiences. So yeah, for sure.
One of the things I sort of like to wrap us up on is, what's one piece of advice for a coach who wants to open their first gym?
Create your game plan, like what you want your gym to be like, and make a solid plan of like what you want it to be, how you're gonna like portray it, and get what you need, don't get what you want.
Mhm.
Like building out my gym, I'm thankful that I had to constantly reevaluate like equipment I needed versus equipment I wanted. Like, and
Mhm.
don't fall into that social media trap where like you don't have to have every little minuscule thing. Like if you're good at what you're producing, get what you need to do that and then grow from there. It's okay to start small. A lot of name coaches probably started with 1 or 2 athletes, gyms, so, and then if you have to be like, do that nitty gritty stuff, like training in the park or whatever to start, get your clientele built. Don't just assume, as soon as you open your gym, you're going to have an influx of 28 people that are going to pay you $5 to $1,000 a month for training. Like it's just not going to
Mhm.
happen
Yeah.
unless you have your name out there and kind of build that up. Just a good solid game plan, just like moving into training, like have a game plan, start executing it, and you're going to have to work. I mean, unless you have, like my adage is like, I'm a small business, just like any small business. We don't have a huge marketing budget. We can't have a franchise that's like, sure, we're going to market for the next 3 months and your budget's $10,000. Like, if you can, awesome, good for you. um, you're going to have to do the basic stuff, get out there, get your name out there, and don't be afraid to talk about it. Like, I'd have to
Definitely.
say one of my biggest weaknesses as a business owner in the beginning is I was afraid to talk about what I know I'm good at because just it's okay to be a little annoying. Get your name out there. People that you're gonna attract will come to you. The ones that aren't. It's
Yeah.
We're all different. So yeah, don't fall into social media. Have a plan and just be confident in what you have and what you're about to do.
I love that, man. It's a great piece of advice. Well, hey, Leroy, I really appreciate you taking the time today to be on our podcast, and
Yeah, I
I'm
appreciate it, man.
excited for this one to launch, man.
Yeah, me too. Sorry about my nutso dog dragging me around while I'm trying to talk to you.
You're good, man. Alright, brother, I'll catch you later.
All right, man. Thanks.